Hi, we are here on the Signature Leadership Show podcast, where we watch world-class leaders uncover their authentic self in a very short amount of time. And we're with Mike Ganino. Mike has for 20 years been working with best-selling authors, some of whom I know and speak very highly of working with them, top-ranked keynote speakers, industry leaders, to help them reveal their unique voice and share their stories. He was the executive producer of TEDx Cambridge and is recognized as one of the top public speaking coaches in the world by Yahoo. And I will double that because I've seen him in action and he really is as good as it gets. Hey, Mike.
I just need to carry this little clip with me everywhere. So when I'm feeling down, I can play it and gas myself up. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, so this will work. I'm going to ask you for a challenge or a problem. We haven't rehearsed this ahead of time. I don't know what that is. And I'm then going to ask you to see your handwriting to see what the handwriting might reveal to help deal with or make progress on that challenge.
I love it.
Perfect. So let's jump right in. What's a challenge or problem that you're experiencing right now?
One of the big shifts I'm being like energetically pulled to make is, for so long, a lot of the work I do is me feeling what needs to be expressed from someone. There's a little bit of it feels a little bit of magic. It feels a little bit of woo, and there's a whole lot of intuitiveness to it. And I feel I feel compelled all the time to be like, let me tell you the structure of a speech and let me tell you the steps to do. But the reality is when I'm with someone, there's a little bit of magic involved. And I am always on the brink of feeling like really pushed to just go full into that, to like go full into this like spiritual realm of what it is. And I pull myself back all the time to be like, let me tell you the steps. Let me tell you how to write a speech and organize a speech and what's funny and what's not. And I just feel really stuck there all the time. I'm writing a new book and the original outline is very like, here's the things. And I feel pulled to go in this other direction. And I don't know if it's fear. I don't know what it is, but there's some block there.
What do you think the real challenge is?
Now you sound like my therapist. Which is great because I'm not paying you and I pay her a lot of money. So this is perfect. I think it's probably that I've always for my life been really rewarded with having the right answer, with having the like, hey, I'm the smartest person. And that was always really, really kept me safe. It kept me safe in class because then I was the teacher's favorite and I could hide there when I was getting bullied and even down to family things and stuff like that. Like I always really benefited from being smart. And it wasn't really until I went to college that like the charisma was helpful. But before that, it was always about being really smart and having the answer and knowing what to tell someone to go do or what to have them, replicate.
And what do you think you want? You talked about writing a book. You talked about, in some ways, going off on your own path and making your own mark, maybe from a different perspective. What do you want now?
I want to bring in more of that magic feeling. I want to bring in more of that intuitive knowingness. Because the thing that I see in people when I'm working with them is I see the spark of like, oh, this is who you really are. Now we got to rip all the stuff off that's not you, that you're putting on or that you've learned to put on to protect yourself. And I want to like claim that. I want to own that's the thing I see and that's the thing I know and that's the thing I can sense.
Okay. I got it. Let's see your handwriting.
Okay. Do you want me to do the like matchup, me and the writing on the same vibe here if we can? Okay, let's see.
Yeah, we can.
Extreme close up.
You're also a professional improviser, so we can also
We're gonna make it work.
Improvise a bit.
Let's see.
Yeah, okay, let's see what we got here. Okay.
You know what might help? Hold on. Let me turn this light off and see. There we go. That might help. Voila.
There we go. Okay. Perfect. Stop. Amazing. Okay, lovely. Nice rack focus too on that end. Okay, so we're going to jump right in here. So one trait I'm seeing immediately within about 5 seconds is a trait I have as well. So I relate to this. I empathize with it. And I think about this a lot on a personal level as well. And this is all about, we could be a little bit vulnerable if it fits, is there's a deep level of sensitivity a sensitivity in how you come across in the world. So you see that in the loop on the D. So sensitivity is a strength, it's a blessing, but sometimes if it shows up in different contexts, it could become a curse if that sensitivity is not used in a way that serves us. So from what you said in terms of what I'm hearing, which is not always the best active listening prompt, but it's looking at how to find that spark or that magic that I know you bring out in others, so almost effortlessly. I mean, I've seen you do it in action. What I'm looking for right now is, and I'll look at other parts of the handwriting, but that sensitivity really jumps out, is you're what I'm seeing here is deeply sensitive, self-aware, like hyper self-aware of how you show up in the world. There's a lot of empathy and compassion for others, but I wonder if in this case, are you extending the same level of empathy and the same level of compassion and almost giving space, giving emotional space for yourself to develop that magic as you would to your clients?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, that feels accurate. That feels healing to hear, to think. Logically makes sense to my brain, and then I think, okay, sounds cute. Wake up tomorrow and truck along, buddy boy. So yeah.
So that's a starting place. And I think that if we start off with asking yourself, how could you extend that same level of generosity as others and helping them in their path and giving your space to allow yourself for that magic to appear and not to force it? And also in the writing there, if we come a little bit closer there, and the other thing is, and this could be off, but I think sometimes on that front, I see this in the T-bar, there's almost a sharp point. There's an edge to it. That I see it in a few different places. What that could mean, combined with the sensitivity, is almost like Shakespeare, almost in Hamlet, where they throw daggers. And those daggers are sometimes directed back at yourself in the sense of, again, hard on yourself, in a sense. Are you seeing the progress you've made, even the last few years, and the development you've made in terms of trusting your own process and knowing that even if it doesn't always feel like you're making the progress you'd like to make, and having almost an edge about that, you've actually made an extraordinary amount of progress. And to, again, take a breath and give yourself a little space, that sensitivity combined with sometimes that edge, that's a gift. That combined with the loops, there's an amazing lower loop in the word silly and why. You're extremely, the creativity, the resourcefulness, the ways that your mind works in terms of that lower loop on multiple occasions, that's part of your creative brilliance. And that creative brilliance is wanting new challenges now in your life. Okay, that's someone who loves different people, learning about different cultures. You're bringing in these disparate elements together through travel, through being open to new ideas. You just talked about writing a book. Even if I didn't see that, it's how can you take that creativity, that resourcefulness, that inclusiveness about wanting to bring these different disparate elements together and use your sensitivity as a strength and not against yourself, is using that sensitivity to help you in writing that book, in giving yourself a break to explore that magic, but maybe not expecting it on the first day of the workshop to bloom those manifestations that you have helped others, but often given them time to expand and explore those things.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting too, because these things that you're saying have like really like little touch points in my life where I'm like, oh yeah, that's there and that's there. Like I can think of instances of those specific things of like, oh, it's my sensitivity that lets me pick up on X, Y, and Z from other people. And there's a whole joke of like, are you really sensitive and empathic, or did you just have like a traumatic childhood? And the answer is yes and yes, probably the combination of both. Yeah. And it's that sensitivity that lets me pick up on when people are holding something back, when people are not showing up. And so it's interesting to think like what a theft to not include those kinds of ideas in the book. That the book doesn't have to be like a how to go find your own sensitive look in the mirror, but to say this version of you exists and it's worth figuring out how to find it. Maybe that's the whole angle of the book, and this movement.
Yes, and on that front, how can you use that trauma or that the challenges that you've been going through in terms of your healing from those bullies, from those difficulties, and how can you use the sensitivity, the compassion, and the empathy and extend it inward, but also extend it outward toward that project in this upcoming book workshop? And before we go, I'm going to put you on the spot and see if you can come up with one action step of taking that abstract idea of taking the sensitivity that, and I'm the same, right? Like, but we're different. We have, I don't, I don't know your story. You don't know my story, but I've heard that too. Oh, you're empathic and you're sensitive. And all that I've read with, Dr. Gabor and others is all about, well, it's trauma is the empathic part of you. I don't know about that. I think sensitive people are wired a certain way. This is how we're wired, and challenging times in our life might bring that forward in different capacities, or it might, in some ways, elevate our creativity. In other ways, it might be blocking us in different ways because of that lack of trust, or not to play a therapist here because I'm not. So back to that question, how can you're about to go into a writing workshop, harness, sublimate that sensitivity that is a gift and sometimes can be a curse, but let's focus on the positive side of it, even the negative things that happen to you. How can you sublimate that into one action step in the first hour of that writing workshop that you're going to?
Yeah, I think the big thing is probably for next week. It's a whole, I'm off by myself on like a retreat, just alone to write this. And I had a whole block about like actually doing the outline. I'm going like totally nothing. I'm nothing. I have folders full of notes, but nothing. And I think the call here, the move here, this was a divine intervention in a way, is to, the first pass of this book is going to be this version. And then I can go back in and add and here's the 3 steps you can follow, or here's what you need to think about. But I think that leading with that version, the how-to version, will stop me from including all of the other magic message. And I think it's, for me, what I want to do next week is just say, sit down, write every day and start from that place. What are the stories? What are the experiences that have shaped how we show up in the world and the stories we tell, and what we do with our body when we're sharing our ideas. And then later in the edits, worry about, where do we need burden and proof and those kind of things. I think that's the big step here, the big push that I'm feeling from this.
Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing the emotion before the analytical brain taps in and is skeptical and judgmental and doubtful and fearful. I'm really excited to read whatever you come up with. I would read, right? I mean, I follow you and your career and your writings, and I'm a fan, but I'm really curious to see if you do go that path into that road less traveled, although I know you've traveled that and have been exploring it, but in maybe a different context, what that sensitivity, what that emotion, what that trauma, if sublimated and repurposed for an audience, what that might look like, and who might it help, and who might it serve. Yeah.
And all of that to me is so much more exciting than the other version.
Yeah.
It really is. I think about that and I think, think of the cool people who are going to be drawn to this and that I want to go spend my time with and I want to go hang out with. That part of it, I think, is what gets me through next week.
Yeah. And what you just said and how you said it, I just got goosebumps. Like your tone change, your emotion, your openness.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to this conversation, which I do feel you're open, but I feel it's the openness to going down that path, which at the beginning of the call, it was much more about, I don't really want to continue doing this, even though you're highly skilled in that particular area of the how-to. What's something that still taps into your genius but also I think covers or extends to more organically of who you are, who Mike is, and
Yeah.
brings that forward. And that to me is exciting.
Yeah, it is. I like this version.
Yeah. So what did you appreciate about this?
It's so infrequent that we sit down and we look at ourselves this way. I think as people who are leaders, whether you're a big L leader with like a title that makes you a leader, or a little L leader because you just influence change in the world, it's so infrequent. We're such givers. We're such looking out for everyone, taking care of everyone, setting things up for everyone, looking at the vision. We don't often stop and think about these moments of like, what is it that I need from this work? What is it that I'm being called to express in this? And I think, I hope, I believe, I'm on a mission that is the ultimate role of leadership, is to express what's ours to express. And this process, this conversation with you, gave me a way to tap into that and look at it for myself in a way that I don't. Again, I would be out here saying, you should express, you should do these things, you should do this. And yet I have that internal block as well. And so I think for folks who are leaders in big L or little L capacity, we're so often leading other people, we don't stop to say, who from inside of me, who wants to be led and where shall we go? So that was what was really cool for me here.
Beautifully said. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I learned something from that too. So awesome. Amazing. So that is the Signature Leadership Show. And this
So
is
cool.
Mike Ganino. Thank you, Mike.